Hello everyone, how you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today we're gonna be talking about a 1984 movie called Asmo, not Asmodeus. So
Amadeus.
Amadeus. Sorry, Asmodeus is a character in Supernatural. I've been watching that with my mom. Fuck, I ruined that. I screwed up the intro. Amadeus, a movie about Mozart. Fuck me. Okay, well,
Yes.
yes, Evan. So that was your recommendation.
That that and my recommendation, and like I mentioned before, fully with the poster, it just it's such a bold and distinct looking poster. I have always remembered it, and it's funny because it doesn't exactly match the what the movie feels like. And
Uh-huh.
I think it's based on the play. Like I think it's like the what they hand out during the play, but it's it's a bold poster and it's a bold movie, so
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it is a bold movie. I loved it. I genuinely just like straight up loved it. It is kind of it's a weird movie. Because it kind of feels like an opera. Like I was thinking about it, I was like, oh man, this feels like an opera, and I was like, oh yeah, it's about an
well,
opera. So like I thought about that without even wanting to make the connection, but it's just like it is so like overly dramatic and theatrical, but in a way that works so well. And I was just like, man, this is so well constructed. I love this. It gave me the same vibe as Oppenheimer,
well,
which is kind of funny. But
well, and again, so it's based on a play, and I believe anyway that the screenwriter was the same guy who wrote the play. So
mm,
it because of that, I feel like there's a little bit more of a sense of theatricality
uh-huh.
and staging and just dialogue focus because a lot of the scenes are just kind of characters standing around talking, and I'd be sounds reductive to say it like that, but you know what I'm talking about. Just like when it comes to a play, it's all built around just all the characters kind of standing and engaging the audience through the dialogue and
Yeah.
the personality of the characters and just the look and feel of everything. Everything is so flamboyant and just like the costumes are insane in this
They
movie.
are. And I kind of love that. Like the entire movie is all like I feel like they're kind of making fun of like how over the top these
Oh
like super elitist people are like, like, oh,
yeah.
the chord composer and fucking Mozart and the king and everything is like they're just making fun of how like vain they are at like so many points, and I kind of love that.
A lot of movies do that. Like I always loved The Favorite doing that. Like it's a funny thing to do. Just like, everyone has these goofy wigs. It's like it's kind of all bullshit. Just the sense of like class and just, like manners and it's a bit of a show. It's a bit of a presentation and, it's you're dealing with royalty inside of this movie and people of high class, and because of that they present it that way.
Yeah. You did tell me, however, that you weren't over the moon about the film.
Yeah, I mean, like, is this like 10 out of 10? You were saying you
I
think this is
gave
like
I
one of the better that you've seen.
I gave it a 9. The thing is, I think because like ratings are like bullshit anyway, so but I
We love
think
to say
like
that in
on
every
an
single
yeah,
episode.
but like on an enjoyment level, I thought it was like an 8 because I just thought the film was like long. Not in a bad way. I didn't
Uh,
think it was drawn
I
out. I just couldn't watch it in one sitting.
yeah. I
It's
was
just
laughing at myself. I feel like the whole, like, less notes thing, it's just like
it
it
kind of
feels
feels like
reductive to
the
just be like, "It's too long." It's like, "Oh," but I don't know what it is. There is something that I feel could be trimmed down, though. It is a little because I
maybe the
suppose some of
theatrical
it comes
version could
from
be better. It's 20 minutes shorter. So
true,
because
actually,
we
that
did
would be
watch the
interesting to
director's cut,
compare.
yeah. Oh yeah, so for so that people know, we watched the director's cut. That's the one we're talking about. Um, the three
Mhm.
hour long one. But yeah, like
I
in terms of
actually
like
didn't look up the
enjoyment,
changes. I should have done that.
yeah. But like in terms of enjoyment, I think it's like an A. But in terms of like quality, I genuinely don't think I've seen a movie this well constructed. Like other than Oppenheimer's, probably the best constructed movie I've seen. ever. It is so well made. I was like shocked.
Damn. It's really I was shocked myself when I watched that movie. It was I always do love that when you just watch a movie that everyone says is great, and you're like, I'm probably not. And then you like, damn, you're just like I always say that with The Godfather. Everyone is like, The Godfather is like the greatest movie of all time, and you're like, and you watch, you're like, Yeah, I get it. I get why people say that because it's just that's just an amazing movie all around. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
so
I don't know. I just the way this film uses like music and editing and the way it tells its story, it feels like a movie made today, but it was made like 40 years ago. It's kind of fascinating.
yeah. So yeah, so getting into like the very beginning and exactly what you just said there, I told you that the framing it's not an original concept, but the way the movie opens reminded me a lot of The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah.
Which is the classic, the old man reflecting on his life and his regrets and speaking to the young man. I was a little disappointed that they didn't really characterize the priest as much as Salieri. It just,
Yeah. They
I,
could have
it,
done a little bit more with dialogue from the priest. I think it could have been fun. He
yeah,
has very
because
little
on
dialogue. He's just genuinely just like a device for him to tell the story to. It could have been fun, especially when Salieri's entire like character is about how he learned to hate God. And obviously he's a priest, so
yeah,
you could have a lot of interesting dialogue from that. I mean, if it was Mike Flanagan, it would have been very interesting.
yeah.
That feels
Well,
like the
honestly,
type of dialogue he would write perfectly.
what it also reminded me of, like I said, it's not an original concept. Another that's relatively similar is Watchmen with Rorschach and oh god, I'm forgetting his name. But the psychiatrist who talks to him. Have you read Watchmen?
I have not read all of it. I've
Oh
seen
my,
the Zack Snyder
but
movie.
well, if you've seen that, one way or another, he talks to a psychiatrist, and basically there's the end point that changes that character and makes him quit is when he like reveals kind of what really turned him into Rorschach. And they through that chapter in the graphic novel, it's mostly him actually who's the main character and not Rorschach, but it's they pour character into him and the two of them bounce off each other a little better, and the priest just doesn't really get that kind of a role. He kind of just listens, and
Yeah,
is used to move the story along. That's the most memorable thing is when Salieri plays his own music, and that's so cool. Just
that was a
playing
really
his
good
own music,
scene.
and then he's like, I know that, and it literally like da 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 da. And he's like, that was Mozart. That was
That was you. I was like, no, that was Mozart, and like that's the star, because that scene, it's like at the very beginning of the movie, but it sets the stage for the entire film, because it is just
exactly
entirely what Salieri's character is about, just like
being upstaged and like
upstaged
and
by
being for
Mozart.
I love that end line too, like people like forgetting your music because that's what people always say about Mozart is like and artists of his time is it's been hundreds of years, but people still remember the movie. People still have the exact reaction to the priest. It just y- the music sticks around and it almost immortalizes the man.
Yeah,
But Salieri, like, no knock on the guy, but he doesn't have that same level of prestige. It's just, it, and that's the line, people like slowly stop playing the music until it's just forgotten.
yeah,
And it's an interesting commentary. The whole movie's like this. It's a commentary on like legacy and our lives and how we live our lives and then how we're remembered at the end of the day. So
yeah. I mean, I always find that type of story fascinating. The ones of like people who want to be remembered so hard. Um, Struggling to think of any right now because I'm sick, but it's fine. Just you at home, you think of an example of what I mean. Um, but yeah, it because it is a really cool concept of like seeing of like people wanting their life to matter, um, and how like most people when they die, they're not gonna be remembered. Um, and so like they feel like their
God
life is
damn with
kind
the
of worthless.
nihilism.
Well, it's not even. I guess it's nihilism. It's just like being realistic. Like when I die, I know like nobody's gonna remember me other than my family. But that's kind of the thing that like um that is kind of cool that you could think about is in terms of like, you know, if your family remembers you, if they tell your
Well,
stories, you're still alive, you know, that way. Like you don't need to immortalize
yeah.
yourself by being like super famous or like, I mean, if you want to immortalize yourself by curing cancer, I mean, I think you should, but like I don't think you're going
Well,
to be able to. But you get what I mean.
well,
It's like trying to achieve something. You can achieve things in like your own small world without it being like, you know, like the most important thing in the world. It can be just affecting the people that you love and how that immortalizes you. And
yeah.
that's kind of the thing with the Salieri, because like he thought he needed to like be remembered for his music to do something that was, you know, to like praise God, and he wanted God to praise him back for praising him, which is like a
Well,
very narcissistic view of it.
ag again, with the Mike Flanagan comparisons of all things, that Salieri reminded me a lot of that, because I think this is a great exploration of faith.
Uh huh.
Because what is a large reason why, Salieri is so embittered is that Mozart is, like, I all immature and like kind of a player and a party animal, whereas he like remained like celibate his life, and he was so faith oriented, and
Yeah. I
that's
mean, he did
something that I
everything
love,
like
is that
he thinks he did it all for God. It's like it's weird. Like he did it for himself, but he thought he was doing it for God.
yeah.
Like he says like, "Oh yeah, I wanted to praise God. I wanted to show how big and beautiful he was. And for him to let me, I made some sacrifices, which was like being celibate and you know, everything." Um but
It seems almost more like conformity though, because just fits in. He does It's not like he really stands out from the crowd as being particularly faithful or
uh-huh.
particularly, like, formal, but he just
Well, he's not particularly faithful. That's the thing. It's like that's why he loses his faith at the end of the
yeah,
day. It's because he wasn't. He was narcissistic, and he was using God as like an excuse for it, because he thought
yeah,
that like you can't achieve greatness without like sacrificing something for it. Whereas
and it
Mozart was just naturally
Mozart
gifted.
just yeah, it just all came to him, and that's what he describes it like God, like he just wrote the music. That's one of my favorite moments in the movie, is at the ending when he's writing down his music and he gets just so confused. He's like, "I don't understand," but he just wrote music, original music, and that's the other scene when his wife, gives him, like, drafts, and he just realizes he's just writing this down. He didn't refine this, and
Oh
he
yeah, what she says is like, "Oh yeah, he has no copies." It's like, what the hell? He doesn't have any copies of his music. It's like, yeah, because he writes it down. It's all a first draft. It's insane.
yeah, it's I love it, and F. Murray Abraham's performance is
He's
amazing.
amazing.
I'm reserved on the, like, how well constructed this is all around, but his performance is the standout, makes the movie, and apparently he wasn't even the first choice, but I'm so glad we got the performance we did because
Yeah,
it's masterful.
yeah. I mean, the thing I mentioned about it, this reminded me of Oppenheimer, is just like the contempt that Salieri has for Mozart, and it reminded me of like Oppenheimer and Strauss.
Strauss, yeah.
Yeah, and their dynamic in that movie and in this movie, like I love it so much. Like in this movie as well, it's just like he thinks he's a friend who's helping him all the time and just like looking out for him. Uh, but like even at the end, he dies thinking he was helping him, but he's actually the one that killed him. It's like it's very tragic, and I think both characters are just really interesting. Like I don't know if I ever would think like a movie about Mozart could be so interesting, like other than it being like a biopic. I genuinely really enjoyed what
Wait,
they explored here.
which is hilarious too in a lot of ways that actually is kinda connected to Oppenheimer. It doesn't feel like a biopic.
Uh-huh.
It
Well, yeah, because
I
like
love
in
how
real
that
life they don't actually know
genre.
how Mozart died, right? So it's like just a story about that, about like how he may have died. Just having some
Yeah.
fun with the
It's
concept and alt
it's
history, I guess it's fun.
yeah, almost like historical fan fiction. It's
Yeah,
just kinda
pretty
like a
much.
just an interesting way to tell his story and explore his life through his music and through the characters that were around at that time.
Yeah. It's really cool. I really like this movie. But I mean, you said you were over the moon about it. I'm curious what you're thinking like issues with the movie.
Well, runtime well, I was mentioning it, already, but the priest and, like, the framing, I felt there was a little more that could be done there. Obviously,
Uh-huh.
Salieri is the main character of the movie, but I was just they kept cutting back and forth, and I'm like, "Man, can this priest just throw out something? Like, add a little something?" And
Yeah, I mean, all we
it
get is
didn't
some
really do
reaction shots,
anything,
yeah.
and
I would agree with that, yeah.
it's um the runtime is the other thing, and again, I am actually curious now that you mentioned it, like 20-minute subtraction, like maybe the pacing is a little tighter in the OG version,
Uh,
and I'm curious what's added or subtracted in the director's cut, but
yeah, I
the
don't know.
other
It's weird to think about like the length because like it was an issue for me just because like I started watching it at like 10 p.m. and so I was at hour and a half. It was like 11:30. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to finish it tonight. But I didn't feel like I was like the movie was wasting my time or it was taking too long. Like I didn't have a problem with the pacing. I just thought the movie was long. Like sometimes movies are long. Like Oppenheimer's long, and I don't see really the time passing. But if I'm gonna sit down and watch it, or The Batman is another movie that's like 3 hours long, but when I watch it, I don't feel like it takes 3 hours. It's just like it does take 3 hours, so I need to watch it knowing that I'm gonna waste it 3 hours.
well well, that's why I always like going for pacing rather than
Uh huh.
runtime, like, I because it's just so reductive. It was too long, like, what do you like, I pacing is a little more understandable, like, there
Yeah.
if it has a slow second act or something like that, or if there's a subplot that doesn't add much, it's like that can affect a story, but again, I don't feel like that's really much of a thing in this movie. It's
I
just
guess I would
kind of
say the subplot of him like writing for that actor guy uh at the end of the movie, where he was like writing the comedy plays for him. I think that was like kind of unnecessary. Genuinely just like didn't really need to be in the movie. They could have done with just the Requiem mass that he was writing to like tidy up the story. I assume maybe because they
yeah.
were like going for something that was more historically accurate by that point. They were like, we need to include this. Um,
Yeah. Maybe, like, a couple of those kinds of details with
yeah,
his life got, like, added in, and some of them could have been pared
yeah, it's
down.
just like
The
it's cool that you're being accurate, but not entirely necessary for like a storytelling standpoint, I guess.
the only other real thing for me, and this was, again, maybe it's unfair comparisons to other things, but the what this movie largely reminded me of, and again, it's not even like an original idea, but just the prestige, dynamic between 2 artists that are, like, clashing with each other and kinda, like, both of them destroy each other at the end of the day, and my thing with Salieri in this movie is he's so, like it's all fake how he presents himself to Mozart, like, the resentment isn't quite as, like, known, and you don't really get them exchanging each other or even, like, playing off of each other till, like, towards the end when he writes his own music. Because from there, he's kind of, like, manipulating him indirectly, and Mozart himself is just mostly obsessed with his music, and again, it's one of those things that's like I'm saying it like it's an issue. It's just one of those
I don't really
I wish there
think
was
it is like an issue. I don't know how to like it. It kind of feels like you wanted the movie to be more like The Prestige, but it's going for a different
well,
vibe.
I wanted more of them as, like, people, like, being
Mhm.
earnest with each other, like like a more direct animosity, like in a sense. It's all almost indirect because Salieri is coy. You know, he's got the maid
Well,
as a
I think it
spy
being
and stuff
indirect
like
is kind
that.
of part
And
of the appeal of the movie because I think it's so interesting how he could be like so two-faced and always trying to sabotage his life
yeah,
from behind the scenes. Because it's the exact same thing as like he even says he became a torn man from that point because like there he says like, I became a torn man. I made sure that opera he wrote only played 5 times, but secretly I went to all 5 of them.
I went to all. I love that.
That
Yeah,
was such a good because I think it's the same thing where like he thinks Mozart is brilliant, genius, like
God,
insane. He's
God's
God.
instrument. Yeah, like he. That's what he says. Like, why was this
Yeah, I mean, he even says
creature
he
like?
killed God when he dies. Yeah, there's all that. But at the same time, he hates him. And so that's what I think is so interesting. When he's talking to him, he kind of like, you can see that there's a sort of like, ideal. I, I don't know if that word exists in English.
Idealicism or
Idealization, I guess. Idolizing him.
idealization. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a word.
Yeah, of him, of being like, man, what you do is insane. I'm so like, I am in love with what you do, but at the same time, he hates him. So like when he interacts with him,
He
he's like showing actual like appreciation for for his talent. At the same time,
well,
he also hates him. So I think it makes
yeah,
sense for him
he
to like not
loves.
show his contentment because he can't. He doesn't. His contentment isn't like there at all times. Sometimes he actually does just love being close to like such a genius, God's instrument as he calls him. So yeah,
Yeah, he loves the music, but he hates the man. That's kind of what
yeah,
it's all about. I I gotta this. uh, I love those moments in movies that you don't like. They're not even all that important, or but they just are like such a movie moment. One of my favorites in this is when Leopold Mozart shows up and reunites with his son, and he's shown at the stairs, and then just it's very similar to the poster. He's just standing ominous and then puts his arms out like, for a hug, but it's framed like a almost like a monster, like a wraith
yeah.
wrapping around his son. I love that shot. It's so well done and the
It's so
music's
good.
great and
Well, and it works perfectly with like the way Mozart sees his own dad. I mean, even in the opera that they mention when
yes.
he writes about his own dad, how he was still like possessing him after he died. All of that was just like brilliant, honestly.
Yeah. Small thing, by the way, I did not know this until I was looking it up, right before. Roy Dotrice plays Leopold Mozart, and he did the audiobooks to all of the A Song of Ice and Fire books, and he's amazing, but, rest in peace, Roy Dotrice, you did amazing, and it was cool seeing him in a movie. This is, like,
Uh-huh.
one of his, more prominent roles, so
Yeah. But yeah.
uh,
I'm in love with this movie. That's what I have to say.
ye yeah, honestly, it's scene for scene, I'm kind of scrolling through it, and it's one of those movies where you kind of have to see it for yourself
Yeah.
because, like, what can you say? I mean, you were just mentioning that, like, the different opera that he writes after his father passes away and how, like, this monstrous wraith, like,
Yeah.
breaking through the walls is used. It's a movie based on a play, and it feels like exactly that.
Yeah. It
It's
feels
an
like a play. It
experiential
feels as
film.
grand as like it's so grand and dramatic about something that is so small because it's like about the pettiness of one man. It is fascinating.
Yeah, but it's funny how that works too, of like the pettiness of one man, of like you haven't seen F. Murray Abraham's performance.
Yeah.
He kills it, and
He's
it's
so good because he
film and
portrays
presentation.
that inner conflict of like appreciation and contempt so perfectly. Like I don't think any other actor could have done as good a job as he did because it is genuinely like one of the best performances I've seen of capturing like the entire inner conflict of someone like that because he genuinely like he doesn't know how to feel. He kind of hates himself for like hating God and he hates God because he loves what Mozart does, and he sees him as like a tool for God, but at the same time like a terrible thing that like ruins his idea of God. It's fascinating. It's genuinely really fascinating.
And by the way, like another important part of the performance and the makeup is the him in the future when he's older. Like
Yeah,
he does a great job playing both sides,
yeah.
playing like the older man
And I also
and
really
as
like
well
how
as
like at peace he feels at the end when he like is telling his whole story. Kind of feels like I already know like everything I did and I'm okay with what I did. Like that was my entire story and like there's no change in that. That's why I love the when he goes at the end say like I absolve you to everyone at the that prison. Just like I absolve you for all
yeah.
the what does he call it? The miserables?
Yeah, I forget the word, but like
The
I speak
mediocrities. That's what he says.
mediocrities everywhere exactly. Like
Yeah. Because yeah,
he's the
that's what he thinks
champion
he
for
represents.
mediocrity.
The champion of mediocrity. It's it's so fun. Oh, he's so good. That is last scene. I was just like in awe of his performance. He was so good. Just being rolled around on his wheelchair and be like, "I absolve you, my mediocrities. I absolve you all."
Yeah, it's it's amazing. It's funny. The more I'm talking about it, the more I'm looking through this. I do love this movie. I like you said it perfectly. I'm not like over the moon about it, but it it's hard to fault too much of this movie. And
Uh-huh.
I'd heard so much about it, but I knew so little. And like I was saying, it's just one of those things where you just kind of have to see it for yourself. It is bold and presented like a play. The acting is on point. The music, the use of I don't even
The
know
use
if
of
there is an
music is
original
insane.
score because
Yeah,
it's just mostly it just mostly uses Mozart's original music, you know.
yeah.
So
But the way it's used is insane. It's not just that they play his music throughout the movie. The way they choose when and how to use it, the way it matches up perfectly with like the editing and obviously like a lot of the times the act. I mean, the music when he's writing his music with Salieri just before he dies is insane. The way it's playing while he's like describing the music that he's writing down.
yeah,
Like, oh, it's
and
so
the
good.
beats and him like saying the beats and Salieri even like doing the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, the entire
It's an
scene, it's so
amazing
well edited and
ending.
so well acted. It's so good. It is so, so good.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, though, because it's like, I don't know if I love this movie because it's like, it's not like doing anything too, like, extraordinary for me, you know? It's not like doing something look super outside of the, like super creative in a way. But in that same, like, token, the movie's just like, the most well crafted movie I've seen like
Well,
ever. It's insane
well,
because
you
everything fits perfectly. It's just like not my type of movie, I guess.
Yeah, well, you compared it to Oppenheimer, and that was what I laughed at when I watched that movie. Because I'm often like that when I watch a movie and everyone's talking about it. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll check this out." But I remember watching that, I'm like, "Yeah, that was just rock solid. That was
Yeah.
just a rock solid, like, almost perfectly constructed, just
Well, yeah.
9 out of
Sometimes you watch
10."
something and you
I'm
don't know
like,
how to criticize it.
"Yeah." It's
You're
like,
like, I don't know if I vibe with that, but I can't fault it. You know, it's that kind of thing.
yeah, you kind of did it, you know? You did it even if it's not necessarily my cup of tea, so
Yeah. That's kind of the beauty of movies. You may not enjoy something even if it's like the best made thing ever, and you may just fall in love with a 3 out of 10 movie. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, I need to watch more of Milos Forman's stuff. I'm telling you. Have you seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
I haven't actually. That's one we should probably do
Yeah.
for the podcast. I think that could be fun.
I watched that I think earlier last year, and really good stuff. And I want to read the book now. I didn't know it was based on a book, but he I I just only seen that, and I'm he's known for, and I don't even think he made too many movies,
Yeah, I was
but
checking his
he's
IMDb. There's not a lot.
yeah, I he's no those are the 2 big ones that he's known for. I mean, Amadeus was like an Oscar contender and all that, but
Yeah.
like it some of his other stuff is a little under the radar, and I want to watch more from him because I he is impressive with even just those two.
You said the name of the movie, and I was just remembering that I said Asmodeus. I'm so embarrassed that I did that. It's a
You're
fucking,
good.
it's a demon
They
from
sound kind of similar.
Supernatural. I've been watching it with my mom. Uh,
I feel you, Skye.
I can't- it was whatever. Um, but yeah, man, just like genuinely, and it's hard to describe this movie because it's so much more about the experience than it is like about like its parts. Like you can talk about like because we mentioned how you know some scenes and every like some little moments are how well made they are, but you kind of have to experience the experience of this movie because the way it uses music and editing in the performances, it feels like a movie made nowadays because it feels like you know you can't really achieve something with that like level of editing and um you know the craft behind it without like modern I guess um like technologies for filmmaking, but it does. It achieves all of it. It's yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Watch Amadeus. It's
Watch it.
a
Yeah.
great movie, and it's just one of those things where you can you said you were just saying it, but yeah, you can talk about individual scenes, performances. It's a full experience, a film based on a play, just presented as best you could imagine through that. And
Yeah.
you just gotta watch it for yourself and see what it's like because it is an amazing experience.
Yeah. And what's his name? Math Murray Abraham, the
F. Murray
absolute
Abraham, yeah.
goat of the movie.
And but I not to Tom Hulse. I'm not sure if I'm saying that last name, but like he is great as
He
Mozart
is.
too, and
Yeah.
like the laughing,
His
it's
laugh is great.
yeah, so unique, and I don't know if that was something that like he kind of came up on his own, but it's such a memorable part of his character, and he's
Oh, so
so
much
good at
so that
like
it's the last thing in the movie. When the
yeah.
movie cuts to black, you just hear his laughter, and then the credits start, which is so good. Again, such a
Well,
perfect choice. Every choice in this
and
movie is just perfect.
And that's the line, like, God laughing at me. That's why it's
Yeah,
so important and why they keep doing it because that's how he sees it, and that's how he sees Mozart, is that, like it's like God himself
self
is laughing
laughing
at
at
him.
him. Yeah, mocking him.
Yeah,
It's so good.
yeah.
It is kind of funny because we mentioned it a few times. This movie has such a Mike Flanagan vibe to it. Um, like even though it's not a horror movie at all, but the like
I
the way
I
to
think
we talk
faith
about
is
it
one of the
feels.
reasons why,
Yeah.
the exploration of faith and, the relationship
Well,
with
yeah,
God.
because
Mike
it's such
Flanagan
a
almost
unique
always does that.
exploration of of faith that doesn't like feel disrespectful. Because a lot of the times when you explore faith, it's like hard to like summarize it and like be like critical of it in a way that isn't like
Yeah.
disrespectful. And I think it
Well,
feels very Mike Flanagan because he's always very respectful and he understands faith, I think, better than anyone I've seen making movies. And this movie's just like on that same level.
I always say that I think the best Christian movies, quote unquote, aren't made by Christians. It's
Oh yeah.
like, it's, and I feel like most people have some level of faith or spirituality to them, even if they like don't believe in God, like any particular God or anything like that. But
Uh-huh.
it's the critics of Christianity or faith are oftentimes the best storytellers because and you were saying the reason why I think Mike Flanagan is so good at that is because he implements it in his stories with characters, but he's read different literature of like different religions, and he's very learned in faith in general rather than any one particular religion, and because of that, like you maybe get a different side of faith or a different side of religion that you wouldn't expect because he knows a lot about different kinds of religions and obviously a lot about different denominations of Christianity.
Well, yeah, I mean,
God, we got to talk about a Mike Flanagan story at some
I mean,
point.
yeah, shit. You just yeah, we haven't yet, right? Damn. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking no, obviously we have, but we haven't. We have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Well,
life
he's
of
such a TV show guy.
yeah.
Like as
Yeah.
of late. Well, coming up on his movie, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, The Life of Chuck comes out, but it's like summer 2025, so it'll be a while still. But yeah, we gotta talk about it. Maybe I force you to rewatch Midnight Mass or something, so we could talk about that because that's like I think we both agree
I
that's
do
his
want to
best work.
rewatch
To
that
be
at
fair,
some.
so
Yeah, I think I've seen most. I haven't seen the Midnight Club, but from what I've seen of him, that is definitely my favorite from
yeah,
him.
me
I
too.
I just that's
I
what I
mean,
put
not
on
my
Letterboxd.
favorite.
Like that
It's my
is,
best. It's his best, but not my favorite. That's my take.
yeah. I that's what I put on my Letterboxd. I'm just like it is the best exploration of faith that I've
Yeah,
ever seen. It's straight up.
yeah. We're gonna have plenty to talk about that. I think that'll be a fun episode, but it has to be a week where you're free to watch an entire like seven
Yeah, it'll
episode
be,
TV show. To be fair, so
well, I'm telling you, I'm gonna make you rewatch X-Men '97 at some point because I am gonna do a like I would love to do like a detailed discussion on that. Like back to the old days of multi-hour talks because I have so much to say. It's unbelievable.
yeah, we do have to do X Men '97. You just gotta let me know like few weeks in advance. You know, be like because like you like for example, this week I'm going to suggest a movie. So if you just told me what you were gonna suggest next week, then I can prepare and watch it. So we just gotta schedule it properly. That's how it works. Always gotta be ahead of
Yeah.
schedule. Um, but yeah, I don't know if there I I'm wrong. I was gonna say I don't know if there's much more to say. There is a lot more to say about this movie, but I kind of don't want to ruin it for people watching it because it is just like it is a the experience of watching this movie is so unique that you kind of need to watch it for yourself, and I hope you do from like listening to us talk about it. If you haven't, and if you have, I hope you enjoyed our discussion, even if it was like shorter, I guess, because it is a
Yeah.
hard movie to talk about without spoiling it or um without like going too into detail, but all we would be saying is like, oh, that scene's great, and that other scene is also great. Um, which I don't know if it would be
Yeah.
the most entertaining thing to hear us talking about, but yeah,
Super experiential title, highly recommended, and it's a spectacle to behold, and
yeah,
just a testament to just authentic and old-fashioned filmmaking. They pulled something Oppenheimer level like back in 1984,
1984,
and
yeah.
it is amazing.
I think that's a great way to sell the movie. It's like Oppenheimer level, but like 40 years ago.
Yep.
All right, well,
All right.
oh yeah, I need to recommend something else.
Uh, yeah. What do you got?
So
I'm always in anticipation.
I was I don't know. I had a few choices, and I was thinking, and there's one movie that I kind of want to do, but I don't know if you're able to watch it, um, because it's a Brazilian movie. So the movie is I'm Still Here, which
Oh,
is
I
a
would
movie you've definitely
imagine
heard
I've
of,
seen.
because it's the one that Fernanda Torres won the Golden Globe for Best Actress for, just last week. And it's a really really good movie, and it's kind of been making the rounds even outside of Brazil, so that's interesting. But I don't know if it's available for you to watch. I think it was like it's being shown in some theaters in the US, and I don't know how easily available it is for you to find a theater to watch
Well,
it.
I just looked it up. I'm like, oh, I got it. I'm still here. And then it's like Joaquin Phoenix, and I'm like, oh
Not that
no,
one, no.
maybe
Not
not.
that
One
one,
sec.
no, no. Not the Joaquin Phoenix one, no. The Brazilian one. Um and yeah, I mean, I love that movie, and because of Fernando Torres winning the Golden Globe and actually seemingly getting like around the buzz that we've been seeing, she may even get an Oscar nom for it, which I'm excited for.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, her mom. I don't know if you know this, but her mom was actually nominated for an Oscar as well. Um,
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah, but
I
she
just
lost it to Gwyneth Paltrow. Of all the actors, to Gwyneth fucking Paltrow.
I
Um,
just wish more Oscars, man. I don't think that's happened. I don't think anyone has won. I could be wrong, but I don't think anyone has won best actor or actress who is not like spoken the English language. And it's so stupid because like you can absolutely appreciate a performance even if you don't understand the language. Like
yeah.
anyone who watches a lot of different foreign language movies knows that. It's like I wish. I wish the Academy was more accepting of that kind of a thing, but so few actors get that chance. Yeah, I'm looking it up now, and I think it hasn't necessarily come to the States. Like, the one thing I'm finding is Apple TV, and it says coming soon, so
Hmm.
I might have trouble. When did it get released? Was it like,
A few months
it
ago.
might maybe it hasn't even, like, necessarily come to streaming, and they're
I
still
mean, yeah,
is it in theaters?
it wasn't. I don't know if it's still in theaters. Hold on, I'm gonna check something. I'm definitely not checking a pirating website. Hold on.
Oh, shit.
Oh yeah, so I don't
It's in
think it
oh,
is
February 20th. Yeah,
February.
I'm screwed. There's the yeah, we may have to go through means to watch this film.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's even easy to find on like streaming or anything, so it's fine. I expected that to happen. We'll watch that at some point still. I'll keep an eye on when it releases. Um,
Yeah. My list, by the way, is growing. I had a couple ideas and was just going by bit, but I got a bunch that I want to recommend.
I'm on the same boat. And I've been going into like a lot of Brazilian movies I want us to watch just because I mostly because of my dad. I have kind of a a negative bias with Brazilian movies because my dad is just like super like, oh, Brazilian movies, they all suck. Same with Brazilian music and everything. But I kind of want to get into it more because it's my country and I've seen a lot of great Brazilian movies, so I'm interested to watch more. So I've been going into a lot of that. But anyway, the movie I'm gonna recommend isn't even a Brazilian movie. It's a movie that I'm gonna recommend because of Community. But you haven't seen the episode that it's referenced in yet, but you will at some point. The movie's called My
Okay.
Dinner with Andre.
My Dinner with Andre. I
My
have
Dinner with
not heard of
Andre.
that.
Yeah, it's a movie about two characters having dinner, and that's it. And I want us to watch it literally because there's a great episode of Community that is a reference to this movie, and
Wall
I'm curious how good the movie is.
Oh man, Wallace Shawn from 1981. My God, I that's
Yeah,
Wallace Shawn and Andre Gregory, huh?
yeah, My Dinner with Andre.
Interesting. Yeah, the title rings a bell, but let me back out. That's fascinating, huh?
Yeah, genuinely two characters just having dinner. That's what the movie's about. So, yeah, that's gonna be the movie we discuss next week. Could be a short one, could be a long one, depends on how good the movie is. Uh,
So, but you haven't seen it either.
I have not seen it either. Yeah,
All right, both flying blind, like this episode. So,
yeah.
all right.
So, yeah, that's it, folks. Thank you very much for watching. It has been fun talking about Amadeus. I almost said Asmodeus again.
Amadeus, you got it.
Oh, Christ alive. I'm Amadeus. So thank you for watching. We'll catch you next week with My Dinner with Andre. And at some point as well with I'm Still Here whenever that releases for the non-Brazilians. Um and yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for watching, folks. We'll see you next time. Oh, next time it'll be close to my birthday. So when this releases, actually, this episode releases, it'll be 2 days before my birthday. So send me birthday wishes in the comments. Thank you.
Send the early birthday-ish wishes.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.